Hello students, welcome to LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Here myself Mr. Jaswal Kishan from Civil Engineering Department, and we are learning all about earthquake engineering. So now from today's session we will be starting one new module which is known as design philosophy. So let's see. So design philosophy module. So in this module we will be covering up its theories and concept. Then we will be proceeding towards the understanding of IS codes, and then we will be carrying out examples using Indian Standard Codes. So let's see what we will be covering up. So before proceeding, I would like to say that in theories and concept portion, I would like to tell it as a theories we are covering up, but actually a technical concepts which we are learning. So most of the theories or say concepts have been referred from this IIT tips, also known as earthquake tips. So this is written by Mr. C.V.R. Murthy. I have given some brief introduction about this in the very first introductory session. So most of the theories will be coming from this earthquake tips. It is a small kind of book in which 24 numbers of tips are given related to the earthquake. Then, for example, specifically we are using 1893 code of part 1, which is used for criteria for earthquake resistant design of structures, and we will be using the recent one, which is 2016 edition. So it is also known as 633. So we will be understanding about IS codes, and also many other codes are also there. So we will be understanding that also, and then we will be proceeding towards the example. We will be carrying out the shears, means the building shear, base shear, and its storage rate. So we will be learning of the examples also in this particular module. So let's proceed with the theories and concepts. So first of all, philosophy of earthquake resistant design. So now, what is the big question? The big question is how to design a building for earthquake. Should we ignore earthquake? Should we consider earthquake? Or should we design in such a way that not of any single amount of magnitude earthquake or say major magnitude earthquake can't cause a single cracks or say damage to our building. So the philosophy of earthquake resistant design says it all. So let's see what to do. Now, severity of ground shaking at a given location during an earthquake can be minor, moderate, or strong. So, as we learned in the previous module, that ground shaking can be of severe, moderate, or say very minor. So, what is the question is that what kind of design of the building should be made? So, the question is, should we make earthquake proof, or say should we make earthquake resistant? So look, in Japan, they tried to make a earthquake-proof building. Also, we should make such kind of system, structural system of columns, beams, bracings, and all. So, what kind of building should we design? We'll be understanding it. So look, if we should we ignore the earthquake, then such kind of condition may arise that building could fall. Or should we consider less earthquake as it actually caused in the particular area? Let us assume that a particular area is having in zone 5. Should we design of zone 2, zone 3? Then what will happen? Such kind of condition may arise. Or should we design in such a way that it just became an earthquake proof, that nothing can be happen? No. Or should we design in such a way that it can resist the earthquake with a particular displacement of the frame? So we will be finding out in the further theory. So what to do? Now, design of building where there is no damage during the strong but rare earthquake shaking is called earthquake proof. So as I said, there is a during the strong shaking of the ground, there is not a single amount of displacement or say single amount of damage should occur in the building. So that kind of building is said as an earthquake proof. Actually, we engineers do not make earthquake proof building because earthquake proof building may be too robust, as you have seen that Japan building model, and earthquake proof building may be too expensive, which we can't afford. So what the engineer should have to do, we have to make or say plan in such a way that it can resist the forces and transfer it equally through the all the structural elements in a better way, as we have seen in this GIF. So it can have displacement, it is okay, but not such a robust building because it can be too expensive, and not such a way that it just fall off. So this thing has to be kept in mind that what kind of building we have to make. We have to make earthquake proof or earthquake resistant. So we are not making earthquake proof building, we are going to make an earthquake resistant building. So practically no building can be earthquake proof. Okay, fine. So let us say I have designed in such a way that I have told that this building is an earthquake proof because in a particular area the magnitude of earthquake has came till date was M7.7. So for considering M7.7, I have made a building that it is known as an earthquake proof. But what if magnitude of 8.5, magnitude of 9K? Then there will be an effect on the such building. So there is no such building which is known as earthquake proof. The engineer intention is to make building earthquake resistant. As I said, we should not plan to make earthquake proof, we should plan to make an earthquake resistant kind of building. Such building resists the effect of ground shaking, although they may get damaged severely but not collapse. So what it says that, okay fine, the damages will be okay, but it should not collapse or it should not fall in such a way that many of the human lives goes in a danger. So we should design or plan in such a way that it should resist the maximum forces. So thus safety of people, as I said, and content is assured in earthquake resistant design of the building, and thereby a disaster is avoided. This is a major objective of seismic design course throughout the world. So entire world is focusing on earthquake resistant building where loss of human life is not much. So this theory is continues over here that what kind of shaking we have to keep in mind. So there are minor shaking, moderate shaking and strong shaking. So whenever there is a minor shaking, then it is okay that some of the elements which are not taking load, like as beams, like as column. So during minor shaking, the beams and column should not get damaged, not even a major cracks. So during minor shaking, there might be possible the cracks in the walls get occur. So such kind of cracks is acceptable. During moderate shaking, some of the elements may get damaged. It's okay, fine. And during the strong shaking, even the main element gets damaged out. Even it is in such a condition that we can't live further in the same building, but the building should not get collapsed. So the objective of the earthquake resistant design is that during the minor shaking, it should resist it without damage. It should resist moderate shaking, moderate earthquake without structural damage and some non-structural damage, and to resist major earthquake without collapse but with some structural and non-structural damage. So the main focus is that building should not get collapsed at any cost. So I have made a red cross mark over here that building should not get collapsed. It is our main design philosophy. Next point is that it is suggested that damage during the earthquake is acceptable as long as loss of life is avoided. So one more point is that okay fine, structure may get damaged, but loss of life should not be occurred. The aim of the earthquake resistant design is to have structure that will behave elastically and survive without collapse under major earthquake and might occur during the life of the structure. Means in the entire building life, which is 50 years to 100 years, there may come a major once in a lifetime kind of a earthquake. So at that time, our building should be performed in an elastic manner. as a GIF has been shown over here, that it may get a major sway, but it should not get collapse. To avoid the collapse during the major earthquake, the structural member must be ductile enough to absorb and dissipate energy. So our main elements like as slab, like as beam, like as column, and also a foundation should be perform in a ductile manner and absorb the maximum amount of energy, and it should be transferred throughout the linear way into the ground. This implies that deformation beyond the yield limit is allowed without significant loss of strength. So design philosophy continues that look, here it is a minor shaking, moderate shaking, and the strong shaking as we have discussed. The earthquake design philosophy may be summarized as follows. I am proceeding to the next slides. At that you get to know that the design philosophy is adopted in the code is to ensure that a structure possesses at least minimum strength as below. Like as, look, I will be explaining it step by step. There are three major steps. First one is, as I said, there might be cracks then during the minor shaking or say minor earthquake, it is accepted. So first point is, under the minor but frequent shaking, the main member of the building that carry the vertical and horizontal forces should not be damaged. The main member as in beams and column, that should not be get damaged during the minor shaking. However, the building parts that do not carry load may sustain repairable damage. That's like a wall, partition wall. They may get damaged. That's fine. That can be repairable. But the main part of the building should not get damaged. So that is minor earthquake should be less than DBE. So here it is a new term called DBE. What is DBE? Design basic earthquake. On this, our earthquake building has been designed. Our building has been designed as per considering the particular earthquake. So minor earthquakes are less than that particular earthquake. So DBE is defined as the maximum earthquake that reasonably can be expected to occur at least once during the design life of the structure. So design life is, we are assuming one value. Let us say if we are designing a building in Ahmedabad, then we have to consider it as a zone 3. And for zone 3, we have to consider all the factors that how to resist the forces. So we will be understanding that it in the IS codes as well as in the exam. So that is its design life. Next is under moderate but occasional shaking. So as occasionally earthquake may arise, so that kind of moderate shaking, the main member may sustain repairable damage. So at that time, it may be possible that main members like as beams or columns get damaged, but it should be damaged in such a way that it can be repaired or say retrofitted by some steel elements. We can retrofit it. So during that kind of moderate shaking, our main members may get damaged, but in such a way that it can be repairable. So while the other parts of the building may be damaged such that they may even have to be replaced, and other parts like as wall, so it may fall, it may collapse, not an issue. We can rebuild it and we can live in that particular building. So it is a moderate earthquake which is equals to DBE. And last, which is under strong shaking. So as I said, the once in a lifetime, it may be possible that whatever the value or say whatever the DBE which we have assumed, beyond that magnitude of earthquake came, at that time our building may damage severely in such a way that even no repairable chances are there, or even damage in such a way that we can't live further in that particular building. But it should not collapse entirely at a time. So we get a time to evacuate the entire building, or say we should get time to go out of the building. So under strong but rare shaking, the main member may sustain severe damage or say irreparable damage, but the building should not collapse. Our main aim, our main motive is that our building should not get collapsed. So major earthquake which is greater than MCE. Now here what is MCE? And MCE is nothing but maximum considered earthquake. is the earthquake corresponding to the ultimate safety requirement. So generally our DB, which is design based earthquake, is half of MCE. Generally it is like that. So this was our design philosophy. Now there are four definition or say four virtues of earthquake resistant structure. So what are that? Let's see. So an earthquake resistant structure has four virtues, namely first is lateral strength. So during the horizontal forces, as say earthquake is an horizontal force that occur on our building. So during the maximum horizontal forces, our building should be performed in such a way that it may get sway, but it should resist it. So maximum lateral force that it can resist is such that damage induced in it does not result in collapse. So as I said, our main motive is building should not get collapsed. It should resist the maximum horizontal force also. Second is adequate stiffness. So our building should be stiff enough, or say not more stiff, not less stiff also. So its lateral load resisting system is such that earthquake induced deformation in it do not damage the contents under low to moderate shaking. So what it say, when it is minor shaking, when it is moderate shaking, then our main element like as beams and column should not go more damage, or say should not possess the major damages. So it should have adequate stiffness. So here it is written that low deflection it is high stiffness, and for high deflection it is low stiffness. So it should not be low stiffness, it should be a proper stiffness. Good ductility. So as I explained that our building element should be behave in a ductile manner. It should possess sway, but in a ductile manner. Its capacity to undergo large deformation under severe earthquake shaking, even after yielding, is improved by favorable design and detailing strategies. So, as a part of structural engineer, our main focus should be to properly plan our building and apply steel in such a way that the building should perform in a ductile manner. And last is good structural configuration. So what is the structural configuration? Our column placing, our shear wall placing, our beam placement should be such that it is proof that it will possess building and it will not get it collapse. Also, we have to make sure that the size which we are providing is adequate enough to resist the load. So its size, shape and structural system carrying loads are such that they ensure direct and smooth flow of inertia forces through the ground. So what is the smooth flow of inertia forces? That slab causes major mass, so it will have the major inertia. So the loads transfer system like as from slab to beam, beam to column to foundation, and finally foundation to soil. It should be pass the load in a smooth way. So this is the four basic virtues of earthquake resistant structures.